Oh my goodness, absolutely yes. Yes.
Capital formation is about organizing a company to get to a certain outcome. And remember we said earlier, right? Like in a startup lean methodology, those founders are not really thinking of an exit because it's just an idea. Like it's just experimenting a couple different low code solutions. But there's a lot of companies ecosystem that have to meet unreasonable targets to be able to make a return. And given how little of a chance it is to get there now, it's becoming harder. So, for example, about $520 million went into seed stage companies, period, since the beginning of this ecosystem. Let's say generously 10% of them actually make it to the next stage and they grow 5x. That's even less than the amount of money that was invested in seed stage, period, like less than half. So we're already losing money. It just doesn't look that way when all of the articles are about fundraising and raising money. But there's a serious ecosystem-wide financial issue at the equity level, and that's what we solve.
I think I liken it to building a house when you're building a business, is the base level, the foundations on which the house is built are those levels of structuring, governance, compliance levels. If those are in place, it provides that foundation so that whatever growth happens on top of that, it happens sustainably. A lot of businesses go to market with an idea, they get market feedback, they get first customers, they're all excited, they get traction. The compliance and the governance for most founders who are excited by novelty, that requires diligence. It requires habitual practice. Habitual practice is not fun for founders, and so it gets ignored in the face of market traction. We'd much rather go after the market and customers and revenue in the bank than focus on how do we build these sustainable foundations for growth. It's only when the foundations suddenly come under the spotlight, either by the media or by venture capital investors, is that now taken into account. And sometimes in this ecosystem, it's too late. It's too late. The cracks in the foundations are already showing, and the growth structuring is shaky. And we've seen it in our ecosystem, how some of that has crumbled.
And they report on it all the time. You've seen it as much as we have, right? And typically we know about those things way before they become public because we see a lot of deal rooms and cap tables, and that's part of the reason we move so secretly, just because it's privacy and confidentiality. But there's a lot of issues in this ecosystem at the equity level, and people's return on investment is not because you hit a certain amount of users. It's because the legal infrastructure of the company can support you selling. And we're going to talk about Web3, I'm sure, at some point. The entire space is built around how you incentivize people to do things. And unfortunately, like the way this ecosystem, the first foundations were built, is based on incentives that prioritize hyper-growth over sustainable businesses. And the continent doesn't meet that.